Good morning. Committee on Parole is called to order. Today's date is August the 8th of 2023. The time is 8:22. Members of the panel today are Ms. Pearl Wise, Mr. Pete Freeman. My name is Tony Marabella. I'll be acting as chair today. Would the staff here at the DOC headquarters in Baton Rouge please introduce themselves?
Carla Williams.
Francis Abbott.
Thank you. Our remote location this morning is in New Orleans Parish Prison. The staff there, please introduce themselves. You're on mute, sir.
Okay, let me see.
Still can't hear you.
You still can't hear me?
Nope.
Something's.
Turn it louder.
Could you turn it a little louder, maybe?
You can't turn up a microphone. It's hard to speak. Something going on here. Ask the Lord, Mr. Lubin, could you test your microphone, please? Unmute and say something.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
All right, that's the one. I got it. Okay.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
There you go. We got you. Good.
Good morning. I'm Deputy C. Tate, and I have with me Mr. Bryan Coleman.
Thank you. Good morning. Mr. Coleman, would you please give me your full name and DOC number?
Good morning. Bryan Coleman, 627-369.
Do we have a list of, yes, just Mr.
Yes.
Lubin? Mr. Coleman, you're set this morning for a revocation hearing. I want to explain our procedure to you. First, I'm going to cover your parole revocation questionnaire. Then I'm going to read the allegations of how it's alleged you violated your parole. I'll then ask you to plead either guilty, not guilty, guilty with a statement, or not guilty with a statement. And then we'll have a full discussion about your allegations. You have several people who are here on your behalf. Your attorney, Mr. Jack Lubin, client advocate Roxanne Barnes, your girlfriend Linnell Robinson, and your mother Dion Coleman. Do you understand our procedure?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lubin, would you make an appearance for the record, please?
Good morning, board. Jack Lubin, attorney here on behalf of Mr. Coleman.
Mr. Coleman, have you had an opportunity? Do you have your parole revocation questionnaire in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Is that information, is that your signature on the bottom of the page, June 2nd of 2023?
Yes, sir.
And at the time you filled that out, were all those answers accurate and correct?
Yes, sir.
Are they accurate and correct still today?
Yes, sir.
And you're represented by Mr. Lubin here today?
That'll be correct.
And you're prepared to go forward?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to read the allegations against you, and if you wish to confer with Mr. Lubin, you certainly can, but I'm going to ask you to enter a plea to each one of them. The first one is number 3, you moved from your reported address without permission and failed to provide a new address to your parole officer. How do you plead to that allegation?
Can I refer to Mr. Lubin?
Certainly.
Yeah, and Mr. Coleman, as a reminder, the board noted that you can either plead guilty or not guilty with explanation to each. Would you like me to enter a plea, or do you want to enter a plea for yourself?
You can enter a plea because we had already went over this before.
Yes. And so at the preliminary hearing and in Mr. Coleman and I's discussions, we're going to plead guilty with explanation to that one.
Okay.
I'd be happy to offer a global explanation to all of the alleged violations that fall within the technical realm, or I can handle them one by one, whatever the board.
Okay, we'll get to that in just a moment. First, let's go ahead and go through the arraignment, so to speak. Number 4, you failed to refrain from criminal activity, which is shown by your arrest on April the 20th of 2023 by the New Orleans Police Department for the charge of domestic abuse battery. How do you plead to that allegation?
And to that one, we are going to plead not guilty with explanation.
Okay, and all of the charges were refused on May the 17th of 2023. Number 6, you failed to provide proof of employment while on parole supervision. What's the plea to that one?
Guilty with explanation.
Okay. And you moved, number 9 is you moved from your reported residential address and failed to provide an address where you could be visited.
Guilty with explanation.
And then finally, number 10, you failed to make any payments towards your parole supervision and currently are $1,260 in arrears.
Guilty with explanation.
Mr. Coleman, your case has been assigned to Mr. Pete Freeman. He will begin our interview process. So would you please answer any questions he may have?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Freeman?
Okay, Mr. Coleman, my background is probation and parole. I used to be the director. So I'm gonna get to the meat and potatoes of this situation. I'm not as concerned about where you were living as long as you can give us a permanent address now. Were you working? I mean, did you have the means to pay some fees?
Yes, sir. I was working, but I had just got a job, and my job, the first job that I had, wasn't paying enough, so I had just reconnected to another job site, and I just was getting a good amount of pay that was going to help me provide for my family and pay the fines and fees that I needed to pay correctly in an appropriate amount of time that I had.
Okay. Do you still think this job will be open if you get out?
Yes, sir. When I got incarcerated, I called my boss and let him know that I was incarcerated, and he just took me off the schedule. That way I don't get fired. So he told me when I get out, he recommended me to reapply if he's gonna rehire.
Okay, and what was this job? What were you doing?
I was a laborer at Zachary. It's like a
I know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about something. And I want you to tell me the absolute truth because it's gonna go a long ways today. I've read the arrest reports, I've read the statement. Did you and Miss Dominique have a dispute on that date?
Yeah, it was a verbal dispute.
Okay. Did you push her back in the doorway?
No, sir.
Okay, now be honest with me, okay? Things will go a lot better on you.
Yeah, I'm 100% honest, sir.
Okay. Did your brother and a friend of hers have to try to pull you off of her?
No, my brother and her friend was there. They didn't have to pull me off her because, like I said, I wasn't on her. It was just argument, and she was just over loud. And when it came to that point, I just left the house. That's where everything messed up. There, because when she was screaming and fussing, and my brother and her friend, they was trying to stop her from screaming and fussing, I just left, and she called the police on me. I didn't know what was going on because I removed myself from the situation by leaving the area completely.
Did she bite you?
No, she didn't bite me.
Are you still dating her?
No, sir. We wasn't dating. We was just neighbors at the time. That was friends. Like, we wasn't dating, officially dating. We was just neighbors at the time.
Are y'all still friends and
No,
neighbors?
no, we're not neighbors at this time. Like, when all that happened, it took place that Section 8 got involved and my mom had to move. So
Yeah. All right. Mr. Coleman, I'm gonna have some recommendations, and I have no further questions.
Okay, let's hear from your mother. Miss Bryan Coleman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me raise the volume up. Good morning.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Tell us what you'd like us to know, ma'am, about your son.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Good morning. My name is Bryan Coleman, and I'm the mother of Bryan Coleman. And I come to you all with great enthusiasm, and great happiness in speaking on behalf of my son. I sent mitigation letters to his lawyer. She asked us to send mitigation letters. So if you would like to, I don't know, I don't know if she have them, but the things that I would like to speak on behalf of my son, Bryan is a very well-mannered child. Bryan graduated from Joseph S. Clark in 2013. Bryan graduated from high school. When I had Bryan, I knew Bryan was gonna make me proud because Bryan was always there by my side. Bryan is a kind child, very, very well-mannered, very mature. And when Bryan re-entered society and he attended Delgado Community College, where he had hopes of obtaining a degree from there in engineering, because he was always there to help others to fix on anything, fix the lawnmower on anything. Bryan worked 2 jobs and was doing everything positive in society. He is a caring person. Bryan, when he came home, Bryan also feel a void. I had a son that had passed away a couple of years ago, and Bryan feel that void. Bryan is well known in his family for helping us all. When he re-entered society again, he had demonstrated to me that he was determined to overcome the mistakes that he had made in life by being productively, and he was. And I asked the court for leniency on my son this morning. He's a very positive child. He was doing everything positive. Yeah. He was doing everything positive, going to school, trying to get a degree in engineering, working 2 jobs.
Ms. Coleman, we've got a lot of people that we want to talk, but we understand what your comments are, and we appreciate your comments.
Okay, thank you. And I ask for mercy on my son because he's a very good child. He didn't do anything.
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
We'll now hear from Miss Linnell Robinson, Mr. Coleman's girlfriend. Ms. Robinson, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear. Okay. Okay, so I'll be reading off of the letter. I have known Bryan for 4 years now, and we have been partners for 3 of those years. During our 2nd year, we decided to move in together. Bryan has always helped with the bills and helped around the house. He cleaned every day, washed dishes, because he knew I didn't like to do that. Bryan and I started college together. He enrolled in college with me. He was going for his degree for automotive technology. We told each other we would graduate together, and he has always been a provider to me, especially when I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. He stepped up in a major way. Bryan came to every single doctor's appointment, and he made sure to remember everything every doctor and nurse told me. That way he can let my mom know and keep her in the loop. Bryan prayed for me and with me every night, and was emotionally there for me when I needed him. So he gave me encouraging words and made sure he lifted me up during my tough times. I was no longer able to work due to being disabled. So Bryan was always sweet and gentle. I have never known Bryan to be a violent person, especially not with me. He loved and cared for me during such a challenging time and made the transition super easy while taking on other tasks. Bryan began working at Take 5 full time, and he even worked overtime doing delivering for Uber, all while attending school and still taking care of me. Bryan is extremely hardworking and makes sure he never misses a day. With Bryan being currently away, it is hard for me to pick up the pieces because he was such a great provider. We continue to pray that he can make it back home. He also got a career advancement and started working at the company called Zachary at a plant. Bryan was able to save up money, and he also bought himself a really nice car, and that was one of his biggest accomplishments. I honestly think with everything going on at the end of 2021 and 2022, it was hard for Bryan to focus on himself or anything really, but besides providing for his family. Ultimately, Bryan is responsible, but with me now aware of his obligations to his parole, I can now help him, keep him on track with all of his responsibilities. As such, keeping his parole officer updated and also paying his fees.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your comments. Ms. Barnes?
I'm going to go straight. My name is Roxanne Barnes. I'm a client advocate with the public defenders. I want to list for the board the organizations and resources that I've mustered on Mr. Coleman's behalf. Should he have any difficulty obtaining a job from the employer that he seems confident he can go back to, I want to note that I will connect him with one. I have several resources, including CEO Works, which is a temp service that employs recently incarcerated individuals. I will also try and connect him with the First 72 for peer advocacy and for job support, so he will not have difficulty obtaining a job and paying back the arrears on his parole. I also want to flag that he is interested in learning some techniques for de-escalation in light of this experience in incarceration. So I have made him an appointment with CADA, Prevention and Recovery Services, to learn those techniques. He's scheduled for that on the 24th of this month at 11 a.m. That is attached in the packet that the board received yesterday. Once Mr. Coleman secures this gainful employment, I will do my best to ensure that he communicates this with the parole officer. Steady income will ensure that he's able to financially pay back those arrears. Once he works through this degree at Delgado, that will hopefully put him in the path of lucrative job opportunities, and he will continue to make those payments on time. I also want to note that he has a myriad of community supports whose letters are included in this packet. He will return to living with Miss Linnell Robinson, who he does help to provide for financially, like she noted. She has, like she said, been made aware of his responsibilities and will help him to stay in compliance. The same is true of the other people in the packet. I have personally spoken to all of them and ensured they understand he needs to register his address, his place of employment, and he needs to be making those payments, and he needs to avoid any entanglements with the law. All of them will be able to help him do this now that everyone is on the same page about what his responsibilities and obligations to parole are going to be. As well, I will remain his advocate for the duration of this period of time and for as long as he needs to ensure that everything is in compliance and that he is able to leave jail, re-enter society, continue his degree at Delgado, get back to automotive repair, which is his passion, and continue with a working relationship with parole. I'll be available to him and to the board for questions.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate your comments. Mr. Coleman, before we turn it over to Mr. Lubin, is there anything you'd like to say to the board?
No, sir.
Mr. Lubin?
Thank you, everyone, for speaking on Mr. Coleman's behalf. I appreciate you being here, and thank you, board, for asking thoughtful questions and listening. I'm going to first offer an explanation to each plea entered, and then address more broadly the supports we have in place for Mr. Coleman, and advocate on behalf of Mr. Coleman for why he should be released back into the community. I want to start with the elephant in the room in terms of allegations, the only allegation to which we pled not guilty, which is the allegation that Mr. Coleman failed to refrain from criminal conduct as evidenced by his arrest. As the board noted, the charges in the case, the charges on which Mr. Coleman was arrested, were ultimately refused, which I think is quite indicative of the lack of substantiation of the allegations. But I think the exact way that they were refused bears noting. It's my understanding, and I've been provided with documentation to show this, that within a week, I believe even less, of a police report being filed, the person who had filed a police report and who had called the police in the first place went to the district attorney's office and signed an affidavit requesting that the charges be dropped. Now, because Mr. Coleman had not been arrested on these charges, because it was an active warrant rather than an open criminal charge, the charge drop form was never processed. A warrant stayed open for the better part of a year and a half. Mr. Coleman was fully unaware that a warrant was out. Had he known, he would have turned himself in. Everyone in Mr. Coleman's life thought this was over. Now, of course, it did not go through because the mechanics of refusing or dropping a case are very opaque and very difficult for even a lawyer like me to follow. But ultimately, I do want the board to note that this was a situation that was almost immediately resolved on behalf of the parties and from the parties. This was not a situation where the DA's office had to spend the entire 30 to 60-day period investigating, ultimately determining that the case was not fruitful. It was clear from the start that the story we see on the police report is not the story that should rule the day. Now, Mr. Coleman and I have discussed extensively, and Mr. Coleman admitted to the board that there was a verbal dispute that day, and Mr. Coleman knows, as someone who was on parole, as evidenced by the fact that he's interested in de-escalation and anger management programs, that it is important to not put yourself in a position where law enforcement could be involved. He is clear about that responsibility, and he knows that he should not have been in that room. But I want the board to be very clear that that does not equate to failing to refrain from criminal conduct. And because I have not been furnished with any discovery, any body cam, or anything because of the fact that the case was refused, there's only so much I can point the board to today to positively disprove that any criminal conduct occurred. But I would ask the board to consider that these are only allegations that were recanted within a week's time, allegations that are now on the better part of 2 years old, and also allegations that do not match any of Mr. Coleman's prior record, which is a record consisting almost exclusively of charges related to substance use, a problem that Mr. Coleman has well addressed by now, but also because of the fact that this charge was refused conclusively. Now, as to the other allegations, the ones to which Mr. Coleman pled guilty, I would note, and I also believe the board noted this, that these are largely violations that fall within the technical realm. One of them, I believe, is duplicative because there are 2 allegations that more or less allege that Mr. Coleman failed to update his address. And then there is one allegation that he failed to pay his probation fee or parole fees and provide proof of employment. I would note for the board, first and foremost, that I have discussed with Mr. Coleman, Ms. Barnes has discussed with Mr. Coleman, and we as a support network for Mr. Coleman have all gotten on the same page about what precisely his obligations to parole are. The fact that parole is a privilege, the fact that it's something that comes with responsibilities. Mr. Coleman is aware of this now. I would add for context that Mr. Coleman was released from incarceration and entered his period of parole during more or less the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when much of our daily lives, including things like interacting with probation and parole, had been transferred to the virtual realm. I do believe that there was a breakdown in communication from Mr. Coleman to the board because of the fact that the release process that he experienced when he left was a unique and new one. Now, that's not an excuse, and that does not mean that Mr. Coleman did not have an obligation to follow up on these duties. But I would ask the board to consider that all of these allegations, in the grand scheme of things, are allegations that can easily be fixed. As we've noted, Mr. Coleman has permanent and stable housing. It's a home he lives in with his girlfriend, who has taken the time out of her day to come in front of the board today, and who has made herself accountable to the board, as Mr. Coleman also intends to do. We have community members around him who will ensure that he does not go back into jail, because as you've heard from his community, people depend on Mr. Coleman. He is a caretaker. He stepped into the void when his brother passed away. He stepped up when his partner was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. The other letters, including in the packet, detail how he diligently communicated with a friend during his friend's 12-year period of incarceration. Mr. Coleman is there for people. He is someone on whom people rely and on whom people lean. And Mr. Coleman has the privilege of entering a community where he can do more of that service, but also one where the community can hold him accountable and make sure that in his drive to take care of his community, he doesn't forget to take care of things like paying his parole fees. I would note that, and you've heard this today and can see it in the support packet, but Mr. Coleman does have either stable employment or the support of my office through Ms. Barnes to ensure that he gets employment. He has housing secured. He is still enrolled in Delgado and is well on his way to getting a degree that, as Ms. Barnes noted, will increase his earnings potential, and a degree that's in line with his interests. And also, he has the community that is going to ensure that he is up to date with parole. Ultimately, I would ask the board to note that with the one exception of these allegations that were promptly refused and promptly recanted by the complaining witness, the only other allegations here stem from a breakdown in communication with a parole officer. Mr. Coleman is someone who has done an admirable job of getting back on his feet after a period of incarceration, who is doing things the right way, who is earning his own income, who is taking care of his family and his loved ones, and who is setting down roots to lead a positive life, be the man he wants to be, and actualize his potential. I would ask the board to consider all of this because these supports are still in place and the path for Mr. Coleman is still clear, available, and waiting for him. All he needs is the board's mercy, and all he needs is the opportunity to return to his family, return to his partner, and return to his community. So I'd ask the board consider all of that and offer Mr. Coleman the opportunity to get another chance.
Thank you, Mr. Lubin. Board ready to vote?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Freeman?
Okay, Mr. Coleman, I wish you'd have been a little bit more honest with me. Your attorney doesn't have access to these records, but there was body camera footage, there was statements that you were pulled off of her. But the fact remains that you were headed in the right direction, trying to do the right thing. So my vote today is gonna be to do not revoke, and that you report to Ms. Barnes. I think it's at the DA's office, Ms. Barnes. I think,
I'm with the public defender's office.
I'm sorry, we're at the public defender's office and take some de-escalation classes. Also, I want you to stay away from Ms. Dominic. And for the next 6 months, I want you to wear an electronic monitoring device that will be provided by probation and parole at no cost to yourself, so that we can assure that you do not go around the victim. And that's my recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Ms. Wise?
Mr. Coleman, I too have some concerns, but I'm going to take a chance on you. And my vote is the same for the same reasons.
Mr. Coleman, you have 2 votes, not to revoke you, to release you, put you back on parole with the same, with additional conditions. I agree with my colleagues. My vote would be the same. So the decision is, and you need to understand, you need to report to Ms. Barnes and follow all of the recommendations of the public defender office. You'd have no contact with the victim in this case, and you are to be under electronic monitoring for the entire time?
No, 6.
For 6 months. Good luck to you, sir.
All right, thanks.
Thank you so much, board.
Well, this is the second or maybe third time we've seen Jack Lubin. And this is why, if you can get an attorney, man, you get an attorney, because this hearing would have gone sideways real quick with that body cam footage. But I think in terms of execution, if you want to look at how they all worked as a team, from the support with the public defender's office to his attorney, she did a great job. Just going straight to the points. His attorney, I thought, did a great job. The supporters did a great job. They didn't go, spewing randomness. It was very to the point. It was almost as if they rehearsed this revocation hearing. I don't know what he's initially in for. Bryan Coleman is far too popular of a name in Louisiana. Richard could not find it. Don't know how much time he was backing. It's a major problem that we see, though, that in these DA cases, domestic DV cases, the problem is that often the woman does go and say it didn't happen. And in this case, they say that they had body cam footage. I mean, wow. But there needs to be something in play. I mean, I've been talking about this, and someone said, well, it's filing a false police report. So something needs to happen, though, where the person is punished for retracting the statement. Because this is such a drain on our systems. It's incredibly, wildly expensive. And when people are unfairly locked up, unjustly locked up, there needs to be consequences either way. I have a few ideas. You say you don't want to lock up a woman who might be a mother and have responsibilities. She might be taking it back falsely. So then make them go. My idea is to in either scenario, you don't know if she was lying or not lying, but have there be consequences. So have her attend a program where she can learn about DV and be around other women who have dealt with it. And it's kind of a punishment because you're going to have to spend, however many hours for the next how many months they decide that you have to do it. But someone needs to know that, should I make this call? And then should I go and refute it? Because I'm going to have consequences if I do it. And until there are consequences, it's going to keep happening. That's my vent. And, I would love to, of course, talk to, one would think that there are counties or districts or cities, states that maybe do take this seriously and identify it as a problem. I don't know. But I just didn't have information. This case, Jason, who we have coming up, I do have information on. Thank you, Richard. I don't know if they're going to discuss it or not, but he was originally, so this is also a revocation hearing, of course, but I'm looking at his appeal in 2012. And it looks like in July of 2009, it looks like he got a sentence for narcotics trafficking. And I'll share the link in the description. I guess I can pull it over here. I can read it. With you. To go over all the details, I wonder what but I mean, how did you feel? I thought it was just a poster child, if that's what you call it, of a revocation hearing with all the resources, everyone. The attorney spoke for like maybe a minute, a minute longer than, but that's what attorneys do. They got to earn their, the attorneys love to talk and they got to earn their, but we've seen so many hearings where you have like some social service person show up and they'll mumble their way through it and drag out for 4 minutes of like tedious talking and you kind of feel like they have no business in doing any type of public speaking. And I've seen some of them kind of make repeat appearances and it's very meticulous and grueling. I thought she did a great job just kind of drilling down the main points. And it's interesting how some people seem to get those resources and others don't. I don't know what the process is of getting it. But I guess it's understanding the system and his attorney knowing what strings to pull. I'm going through, meanwhile, there we go.
The Committee on Parole is called back to order. The time is 8:55. Our next case is Mr. Jason Dauzart. Mr. Dauzart, would you give us your full name and DOC number, please?
Yes, sir. Good morning. Jason H. Dauzart Sr., 44-83-45.
Thank you, Mr. Dauzart. Mr. Dauzart, this is a probation revocation hearing. I want to explain to you what our process is. Do we have a list of witnesses? Mr. Dauzart, first I'm going to read some information into the record. First I'm going to go over your parole revocation questionnaire with you. Do you have that with you?
Yes, sir. Right here.
Then I'm going to go over the alleged violations. I'm going to read each one of them to you and ask you to enter a plea. The pleas would be either guilty, not guilty, guilty with the statement, or not guilty with the statement. Then we'll allow any persons who wish to have input to say what they'd like to say. You have present here at headquarters your mother, Miss Diane Jackson, who wishes to speak, and your brother Gerald Blue, who is here simply for moral support.
Thank you, sir.
And then you'll have an opportunity to say whatever you'd like to say, and then we'll vote. You understand our procedure?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dauzart, you have the questionnaire in front of you?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. Is that your signature at the bottom of the page?
Yes, sir.
You signed it on June the 23rd of 2023?
Yes, sir.
Are those questions all accurate and correct?
Yes, sir.
Are they still today accurate and correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you prepared to move forward with your hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to read the allegations and each one of them, then I'm going to ask you to enter your plea as I go through them.
Yes,
Number
sir.
four, the first one is number 4. You failed to refrain from criminal activity as evidence of your arrest on August the 28th, 2022 by New Orleans Police Department for the following offenses: armed robbery with a firearm, aggravated second-degree battery, simple assault, and 2 counts of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. How do you plead to that allegation?
Not guilty, sir.
On May the 31st of 2023, you pled guilty to misdemeanors on the pending charges, docket master and bill of information, which includes that on October the 19th of 2022, offender was billed with the following charges. Count 1, aggravated assault with a dangerous weapon upon a dating partner, amended to disturbing the peace and sentenced to 90 days at Orleans Parish Prison, credit for time served. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Count 2, possession of a firearm or a weapon by a felon, amended to simple criminal damage to property. You were sentenced to 6 months at Orleans Parish Prison, credit for time served. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Count 3, armed robbery with a firearm, amended to theft under $750 and sentenced to 6 months Parish Prison, credit for time served. Is that accurate and correct?
Yes, sir.
Count 4, aggravated second-degree battery was amended to disturbing the peace and sentenced to 90 days at Orleans Parish Prison, credit for time served. Is that accurate and correct?
Yes, sir.
Count 5, possession of a firearm or weapon by a felon was now crossed. To your knowledge, is that accurate as well?
Yes, sir.
And finally, number 10, the allegation is you still owe $1,275 in supervision fees. How do you plead to that?
I plead guilty to that. I got to plead guilty with a statement.
Okay. Your case has been assigned to Ms. Pearl Wise. Would you please answer any questions she may have?
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
How long you been in jail on this matter?
Since August the 28th, 22.
Okay. Were you working at the time you got arrested for this?
I was, but no, technically, no. I just got laid off because they went bankruptcy for the construction company I was working for.
Oh, okay. What kind of work were you doing?
I was doing construction work, grading concrete and laying geo grid and fabric down in
Okay.
the New Orleans East area.
Okay.
For Vernon Kelly Associates.
Gotcha. Okay. Now,
They lost their
so
contract.
you were working, but you weren't paying your fee.
No, I have a son that's going in the second year at UL Raging Cajuns, and I was helping him with tuition and housing. My daughter is at Morehouse taking up cosmetology for facial and hair, and I was about to be paying for marriage arrangements. So yeah, I did stop paying for some of my payments, but for the longest I paid my payments. You know, I am guilty of being backed up for that.
You realize those payments are your freedom.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I do know.
Contact with your children, you won't have marriage plans, you don't have nothing if you don't have your freedom.
Yeah,
to see it like that. That needs to go off the top. Take care of your freedom first, and then everything else will fall in line.
I got that, ma'am. I'm sorry about that. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I should hope so. I mean, your kids will understand as long as you're free.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a whole lot better. You're doing what you can. Now, what was your relationship to the victim in this case? I do want you to know that we have the videotape of where the officer went to the hospital room and interviewed the victim.
Yeah, actually, I have no. That was my fiance, Neil Tech, and I really don't know him like that.
So why did y'all get into the altercation?
Actually, it wasn't never no altercation. They had something to do with
That
her.
was in a hospital bed.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about. I don't know him. Like I know it. She had something to do with that. I really don't know him. I just know of him from seeing him doing her
No,
nails.
okay. I guess I didn't phrase that question correctly.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened on that day?
On the day for what day that was.
When this incident happened and you got arrested, what happened?
That's what I'm saying. I was wanted for that. I don't know him like that. That's what I'm saying. I have no knowledge of
You
that.
never hit him? You never hit him?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
He said you hit it.
Yes, ma'am. He did say I hit him, but I don't know. I don't have no knowledge of him like that. I just know of him being a nail tech for my fiance. That was one of her friends.
He was living with her, wasn't he?
No, that man was not living with her, ma'am. Ain't no grown man was gonna be under the same roof with me. No, not with me and my fiance.
You were living with her.
Well, I was residing there from here and there, 'cause I reside at my mama's house, but that's my fiance house. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you saying you never hit him, although he said that you did hit him, and you
Yes,
said
ma'am.
nothing happened.
Yes, ma'am.
You never challenged him about not paying your fiance rent?
Nah, I never even knew nothing about that. I'm saying that man didn't stay there. He didn't stay there.
Okay. But you're not there all the time, so you don't know. If you didn't stay there all full time.
I'm paying bills there, so I know who stayed there, ma'am.
Okay. So that was his statement.
Yes, ma'am.
And now, was there other incidents of domestic violence against you during this parole period, or was that the only one?
What you mean when you say parole?
Yes, since you've been out on parole, when you got out in 2020, was there another incident of domestic battery and the girlfriend dropped the charges? Is that the same one that's the fiance you're with now?
No, ma'am. That's
That
a
was
whole
somebody else?
yeah, that's a whole totally different other person. Actually it was like a three-way kind of relationship thing with the fiance I have now and with her, and one person got mad because I can't be with the other one, and it came with allegations, and that was it on that part, but it didn't go no farther than that.
Okay.
Besides the allegations, ma'am.
Oh, okay, okay. So if you're successful today and you're released, what would you do? Where would you live and what would you do?
Oh, I'm going back to my mama residence
Mm-hmm.
on 7626 Alabama Street.
Uh-huh.
I have unemployment with my good friend. He a laborer at Domino's sugar factory.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna be hired over there for $20 an hour, 12-hour shifts. I just want to continue to be in my kids and my mama life. Do well by myself also. That's my main priority, to get myself together before anything. And, continue to try to move accordingly. I ain't been in no trouble. My parole officer, I always see him. And I maintain the job.
Okay, let me stop you there.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm still not clear as to why you got arrested. I need you to be honest.
Oh, I called the police, and it's happened. I had these warrants. That was 2 warrants out for me. I'm the one who called the police on her to get my belongings, and I had her kid. I was watching her kid. She didn't come home that night. So, that was my rap right there. Like it was a toxic relationship. We always arguing. We always getting into it. So it was my time to go. I'll notify my parole officer way ahead of time, months ago, on her threatening me numerous times of putting charges on me. So he asked me, well, how do I want to pursue? I asked him, how can I get a stay away order? So when he told me it'll be a civil matter, she'll have to get a warrant out for her. I didn't want her to get taken away from her kids. You know what I'm saying? So I left it like that. And a time she called him, talking about I threatened her and stuff like that. So when he asked her what she wanted him to do, she started going off on him. And when he came to see me, he told me this story. That's how I know about about what happened. And he was
I'm not with you now. This is not lined up with anything that's in the file. So what are you talking about?
I'm talking about when I came to jail, I'm the one who called the police.
Okay.
I'm the one who called the police on her. But I had a warrant out for me, so when they ran my name in, I had to automatically come down.
So, and the warrant was for what incident?
It was for both, and I had 2 warrants out for me for both of them incidents. That's old incidents. Like this is from April, and that one from August.
Mm-hmm.
I went to jail August the 28th or 22. The incident was supposed to be for her was April, April sometime. And the incident for the fella, Jamal Jones, was on the 20th.
Of what?
I mean, not the 20th, of August sometime.
So what can you do to stop getting in these skirmishes and you on parole when you got 2 children in college? How are you conducting yourself and this kind of stuff keep happening?
No, actually,
that.
I'm sorry, man.
No,
No, actually,
go ahead.
Actually, I just gotta stop messing with toxic relationships. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a bad dude at all. I take care of people. You know, I'm caring, I'm loving.
But you end up in jail.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And falsely, I'm not saying I'm just all the way innocent. I do argue, I do get into it, but as far as put my hands on my jacket, I don't have now domestic violence or anything aggravated or fight anything on my jacket. That's not me.
Well, you have arrest for that. You don't have convictions, but you do have arrest for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Makes it on your jacket. That makes it on your jacket.
Okay, well, you know, those allegations, ma'am.
That's true, but it's on your jacket.
Yes, ma'am. And I apologize for that. You is correct. You is correct, ma'am.
Were you using any kind of drugs or alcohol during?
Oh no, man. I never urine. I take.
Okay, that's fine.
I take drugs on my parole also. No, I ain't never failed no drug test. I never missed a day of seeing him or nothing.
Okay.
And I maintained a job since 20.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Remus. Okay, according to the summary of the preliminary hearing, police item D04892 indicates that Mr. Dauzart verbally threatened the victim, Precious Gay, by shouting, "I'm gonna kill you. I can't wait to kill you."
You want me to say something on that, sir?
Yeah, I want your response to that.
That never went on, sir. We had broken up at the time, and she mad because I don't want to be with her no more, and that's what she get real devious on her end, sir.
All the camera.
I didn't hear you.
Okay, nothing. I'm speaking to myself. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dauzart, why did you plead guilty to these charges?
Wait, well, I ain't plead guilty to what charges?
All these misdemeanor charges.
No, because I was set to go to trial and
you were set to go to trial on the charges for which you were arrested.
Yes, sir.
Rather than go to trial because you were innocent, you plead guilty to lesser charges. So you did something. What did you do? You're denying having done anything. You pled guilty to disturbing the peace,
yes, sir,
damage to property, theft under $750, and disturbing the peace. You pled guilty to 4 different charges. Yet you're saying I didn't do a thing.
Yeah, that's so.
How does that jive?
No, that was my plea arrangement, so I wouldn't have to take a chance at risking my life to go into trial, sir.
Well, if you didn't do anything, why not go to trial?
Because I ain't want. I went to trial before on my last charge, and I was innocent. Like I found guilty with a jury.
So you don't trust the system.
Yes, sir. I'm listening.
You ended up pleading guilty to 4 separate charges.
Yes, sir.
All involving the more serious charges, but lesser offenses. You pled to all of those.
Yeah, but the charges weren't supposed to be contained. It was just supposed to be so I can go ahead and get my parole.
No, sir. You pled guilty. A judge read some facts into the record about what happened, and you said, "Yes, Your Honor, I'm guilty to those."
No, it was because I pled guilty to a lesser charge. That was.
But the charge you pled guilty to is disturbing the peace,
for arguing,
stealing, and criminal damage to property. And you say, I didn't do nothing.
No, that was the goal. That was so I don't have to go to trial. That's the only reason why I pleaded that, so I don't have to go to trial.
A lot of people plead guilty because they're guilty.
Yes, sir. I understand that.
You went before a judge, you raised your right hand, you swore to
Sir.
tell the truth, and the judge said, "Did you do these things?" And you said, "Yes, I did." And you pled guilty.
Because I didn't want to. I did that so I don't get violated with my parole. There was misdemeanors that I can take that won't really harm my parole. That's
I'll tell you one thing.
Yes, sir.
I'm very concerned about what you did, and it may very well violate your parole.
I see that now, sir. I didn't in court. It wasn't read to me like that. It wasn't read to me.
Well,
So
the judge isn't going to sit there and tell you all of those things. The judge is getting ready to go to trial on these more serious charges, and you cut a deal.
Yeah,
you were scared to go to trial.
Actually, I'm the one who pursued, but listen, my lawyer advised me to take these, misdemeanors. I was hoping he would be in today to speak on my behalf to let y'all know the real circumstances of the case. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Okay. That's all I got. Let's hear from your supporters. Let's hear from your mom. Your mother's here, Miss Jackson.
Yes.
Good morning, Miss Jackson. How are you? If you go right to that podium right there, right behind you. No, ma'am, the other side. That's okay. Good morning, ma'am. If you will introduce yourself and just tell us what you'd like us to know about your son.
My name is Diane W. Jackson. I'm Miss Jason's mother. And I had 3 kids. And Jason is the 3rd kid, which they are dead. My son was a master sergeant. My daughter graduated from college and she had a bachelor's degree. And Jason is very humble. I didn't have no problem with Jason, and he helps me, when he's there, he'll help me, and things. Right now I'm sick. Help many, took care of many of them, and raised children and sick and older people, and everything. And right now I had all kinds of things wrong. I'm diabetic. I had mastectomy cancer. I had a bladder and everything, and no heart trouble. And I need him to help me, because I've been doing this all my life, taking care and helping people, And he's a caring person. He loves kids. He's a very caring person. And if he gonna give you something, he gonna give it to you. He ain't gonna steal or take nothing from you, And I think that I'll give him another chance, he can do better. Because he was working. For Dave and Buster, he started out and then he got the other job. And
Thank you very much, man. We appreciate your comments. Mr. Dauzart, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah. Speaking on my behalf right now, right?
Yes, sir.
My mom is my backbone. She didn't think I know that she's sick. She try to hold it from me, man. And my nephew, he always tells me everything because he don't want to be in a worry, which that's why she don't tell me, because I be wanting to know everything about my mama. I have 2 kids, like I told you, that need me out there. They're in college. I would like to continue to be in their life. I miss so many years of their life. They 11.5 years and miss everybody. I want to be out there for my mama, I got the job that I'm waiting on. I have a certificate right here that I received in here. is with the Metropolitan Human Service District. The certificate was presented to me, who has successfully completed 16 hours of peer support lead groups at New Orleans Justice Center, awarded the 10th day of March, the year of 23, for anger management, substance use, attitude motivation, mental health, positive thinking, reentry planning, recovery support service, victim awareness, and trauma. I also finished community research within the greater New Orleans area for improving well-being throughout the recreation area. It's like a recreational therapy. I'm in numerous programs. I'm in the Goodwill program. I have a contract for the Goodwill program that's going to help me with housing, SNAPs, any kind of thing to get me on my feet. The recreational program want me to come speak to youth individuals that I'm willing to do. I told them I have to be a weekend thing because I know I'm gonna be working 5 days a week if the Lord say the same. I make it out there to my family. You know, I might have made some mistakes, but I am trying to correct them. I'm not a bad person at all, sir. You know, I understand everything you were saying about pleading guilty to, but it just wasn't presented to me like how you presented to me. Because trust me, if it was, no, it wouldn't have been that. That's why I was praying that my lawyer would have supposed to been here, because he been got the memos, I been got my case manager to fax him the emails, and he knew the day, he came see me yesterday. And he was supposed to been here, so I don't know what happened with that. I pray that he all right. But I just pray that y'all have leniency on me and keep, you know, I just pray that y'all have leniency on me, man. And thank you, and God bless y'all. Thank you, and God bless y'all regardless of the decision y'all made.
Thank you, Mr. Dauzart.
And I thank you, man.
Panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Wise?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Dauzart, you didn't do yourself any good today. You sit up there and said you didn't do anything wrong. You arrested, you were in jail, didn't take responsibility for nothing. You were not honest today, to me. And that's me, it's my take on it.
Yes.
But your mother being here today, that impacted me.
Thank you.
It's not because of anything you did, but because of who she is. My vote is in lieu of revocation that you serve 6 months in jail and that you have one residence, and that's 7 nights a week at your mother's house. That is the only place you are to live. Now repeat that after me.
You said serve 6 months in jail, 7 nights at my mama's residence.
Because that's where you live. Say, I live with my mother. When I say I live, that means 24/7. All your stuff is there. Your toothbrush, everything is at your mother's house. That's where you live, one place.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
That's my vote. I'm on a one vote and I'm taking a chance on you.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. Just do.
That make a domestic battery.
Mr. Dauzart, I also have a feeling you wasn't honest today. I don't think you'd get arrested for all of those charges with the guy with a busted ear and all of the allegations, and you say nothing happened and you didn't touch him. You pled guilty to the misdemeanor charges. My vote is to revoke.
Mr. Dauzart, you have 2 votes, one vote to revoke and 1 vote to grant in lieu of revocation. You serve 6 months in parish prison and live with your mother. Mr. Dauzart, you know, like Ms. Wise, I think your mother needs you. Your mother is here supporting you. My heart goes out to her and I want to help her. But you just lied to us today. You claim you didn't do anything, and I know that's BS. If you'd have been honest with us, and I understand you pled guilty to misdemeanors. Sure, people make deals all the time, but you pled to 4 different misdemeanors. you deny anything ever happening. And that's just a lie. And my vote likewise is going to be to revoke you today. So you've got 2 votes to revoke. Your parole has been revoked today. So good luck to you.
Wow. Where was his attorney? You know, we saw just prior what an attorney can do for someone, and I think it's fair to say that if he really had an attorney that was supposed to show up, or who knows, we have seen attorneys not show up before, he would have been walking home. For whatever reason, he just decided to lie, and that is what revoked him. He lied and lied and denied. When his mother got up and spoke, and then I saw him break down, a tough man break down and just cry, I actually wanted to do what Miss Wise did. I just, you know what, like, I don't know, just let him out. I am happy I am not on the board, because it just breaks my heart. Oh my gosh.
That's not looking at.
You know, it all starts with, I guess, his fiance has a nail technician that he's.
Yeah, Christopher John, I guess, because he won't tell you anything about his personal life. You know, John, where you live at? Well,
Ooh, we're about to get a hot mic. They turned it off. And also that brings up the nature versus nurture. She has 3 children. One's a college graduate. The other is a master sergeant. And he just can't stay out of trouble. I mean, I have his court records. I'll drop it in the link below. But, you know, he's been caught with a firearm. He's been caught accused of distribution. You know, a lot of petty stuff, nothing major, but just in a world of crime. And my records show he's 39 years old. And he looks much older than the age of 39. And I don't know, you know, I don't know how much time he's backing. His appeal seems that he was sentenced. It just doesn't say how much he was sentenced. So I don't know. But he's going to have to go back to prison and serve out the remainder of his sentence. He will get opportunities at parole. He doesn't need to serve the entire sentence.
Benicia, put a shirt on.
But hopefully, for his sake, for his mother's sake, she doesn't go while he's there. But hey, if there's one valuable lesson, just be honest with the board. I mean, he literally said, I don't know what you're talking. I did nothing. But there's a man in the hospital bed. There's a man in a hospital bed, and they have camera footage of it. And he did nothing, saying he did nothing. And I guess, you know, we have seen people lie to the board, and the board let it go. We have seen that. So, but and I think Mr. Marabella, the last one to vote, I think he was about to let it go through, and he just, something came in mid-speech, and he couldn't do it. Mr. Freeman has been pretty tough lately. So I'm not surprised Mr. Freeman went the route he went. And it's you know, I from reading all your comments, you know, being locked up in jail and prison, to say you can't show any emotion, any at all. So being there in front and then just seeing his mother get up and speak, you could see it unleashed so much raw emotion. Who knows? It could have been years of I don't know if you've ever had that moment when you just kind of lose it, and then years of holding that in just comes out at one time. Let's go.
Good morning. The Committee on Parole is called to order. Today's date is, the time is 9:27. Our next case is going to be Mr. Jenero Sims. Mr. Sims, would you please give us your full name and DOC number?
Jenero Sims, 412045.
Mr. Sims, this is a revocation hearing today. I want to go over our process with you. First, I'm going to go over with you your parole revocation questionnaire. And then I'm going to go through the allegations that are reasons alleged that you have violated your parole. And then I'm going to ask you as to each violation or alleged violation, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, guilty with the statement, or not guilty with the statement? And then at the appropriate time, those persons who wish to speak, will allow them to have their input. You have several people here speaking on your behalf. Your mother, Miss Diana Sims, is here. You have an attorney, Miss Kat Kearney. You have your child's mother, Trinisha Glover, and a member of the defense team, Miss Mia Barr. Would Miss Kearney please make an appearance for the record?
Yes, this is Kat Kearney representing Jenero Sims.
Thank you, ma'am. And we also have in opposition Agent Bertrand, who was your parole officer. So do you have your parole revocation questionnaire before you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that your signature at the bottom of the page? Or did you not sign it? There's an X there.
Never got a chance to sign it.
Okay. Well, let's go over it. Are the answers, have you had an opportunity to look over the answers?
Yeah.
Are those answers accurate and correct?
Yes, sir.
And you are represented today by Ms. Kearney?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready to proceed with our hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the first allegation is that on May the 31st of 2023, you were arrested by the New Orleans Police Department for resisting an officer, resisting arrest by refusing to give identity, and simple assault. The charges of resisting an officer or resisting arrest by refusing identity are still being screened, apparently, in the New Orleans District Attorney's Office. Yes.
Sorry, there's an update to that. Should I provide that now or wait?
Yes, you can.
On Friday, Mr. Sims pled guilty to refusing ID, and the simple assault charge and the other resisting charge were null prossed by the district attorney.
Yeah, the simple assault charge initially was no probable cause, was found by the magistrate, but he's actually pled guilty to the resisting by refusing identity, and the other resisting charge was dismissed.
That's correct, yes.
So how would, what is his plea today?
And I read the plea on which one as far as the identity.
Well, on May the 31st of 2023, the way these things are written, it's very difficult to be able to make a statement. So I'm going to read a couple of things, okay? On March the 31st of 2023, you were arrested by the New Orleans Police Department for resisting an officer, resisting arrest, refusing identity, and simple assault. That is a fact, so no one disputes that. The charges of resisting an officer, resisting by refusing identity was still in the screening process. That's no longer true. We now know that you pled guilty to the refusing identification. So I assume to that allegation, you plead guilty. To the others, you plead not guilty. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And finally, to date, you are $630 in arrears on your supervision fees and have failed to remit any payments since being released on supervision. How do you plead for that?
Those payments are paid all the way out, sir.
Okay, you've paid, I know that I have proof that you paid $600. You still owe 30. Have you paid the remaining 30 as well?
I think those 30 paid too, sir.
All right. So I'll put not guilty with the statement. Okay. Your case has been assigned to me. So I'm going to start asking some questions of you, okay? So tell me what happened on May the 31st of 2023.
What happened was I went around an area that I haven't been around in a minute, saw some older people that I knew, decided to get out and speak to them. That's when the officer pulled up and was calling me, telling me to come to the car. And I'm being honest, I asked him for what I'd done. Let him raise my shirt up, let him see that I wasn't doing nothing. You know, like, what you want with me? Why you want me to come to the car, officer? He kept telling me to come in here, no reason to tell me why I had to come to the car. He just was like, come here, come here, come here, out of everybody that was out there. So I kind of like was getting scared, worrying like why he want me to come in here and telling me what I'd done or nothing. I basically walked off, knowing, reading on the law book and stuff. I'm being honest, I walked off. He jumped out the car and just started coming after me, and I kind of got scared and just ran from him. That's when they apprehended me and they read my rights and stuff. And then you come back and was asking me my name, and I told him that I wanted to talk to my lawyer, you know. And from there, it's just they took me to the hospital because they was doing all type of stuff, roughing me up, searching me wrong, sticking his fingers all through my butt cheeks, trying to find stuff. And then they, brought me to the hospital. I kind of like told them I wanted to talk to Integrity Bureau about the officer behavior from him, searching me wrong, putting his fingers and up my buttocks. And that's when the lady, Kimberly Hunt, I think her name, spoke to me. I initially went down to Central Lockup. When I went to Central Lockup, I was just charged with 2 charges. But I guess once they found out who I was, because I never told them my name or nothing, they fingerprint and found out who I was. That's when the officer come back, and he must have found out that I told the Integrity Bureau, the lady, about what he did. He come back and he put a simple assault charge on me and to mess with me and put a parole hold on me.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about, you got paroled on June the 11th of 2022, right?
Yes, sir.
What were you doing? What have you done? Or what were you doing before you were arrested on May the 31st of 2023?
What was I doing?
Right? Is that right?
Yes, sir. I was working.
Okay, so almost a year, 11 months. What were you doing in those 11 months? Where were you living? What were you working?
Yes, sir. I got my own.
What kind of work were you doing?
I started a pressure washer business and a car wash business, and go to the paperwork showing that I'm registered with.
Okay, we're just talking right now. We'll get to. I'm going. If I want some proof or something, I'll ask. Okay. So how often were you working?
I was working like Monday through Friday, and I was also being a father, going home with my kid's mother, tending to her, going to all the appointments, being a father, trying to stay out there with the.
Let me ask you a question. Do you have a nickname?
No, sir.
Anybody call you Gutta or Gouda, Gutta?
That was something that was way when I was a kid. I'm no longer.
Well, is that a nickname that you've been called?
When I was a kid, a long time ago.
Is that written anywhere in your rap sheet or anything like that?
So I never told nobody that.
Well, the officer said he recognized you as Gouda or Gutta or whatever that name is.
I believe
someone. Well, let me finish. The police report suggests that he recognized you as someone who he had information that might have been dealing drugs in that neighborhood. Why would he say that if is that your nickname? It's a nickname you had many years ago. Why would he say that?
Sir, that was like when I came to jail last time, before I got out, that was something that somebody had said then. So I guess they went back off of that and tried to hook me up with this by saying things. But
Mr. Sims, let me say something to you right now. Okay. I have read your report. I have read everything about that report. I am sympathetic in some respects to you and what happened to you. But I'll be damned if I'm going to sit here and let you lie to me.
I wouldn't.
I want to know exactly what happened. Now, if you tell me exactly what happened that night, then you might get a favorable vote from me. But if you don't, then you're not going to get one. And let me tell you where I'm coming from. I have read your report. You weren't reporting to your parole officer. You were not home when you were supposed to be home. You called your parole officer. You complained and you screamed at them about harassing your mother because they were looking for you. You got an anger issue. Now, that doesn't justify anything the police might have done to you. But had you behaved yourself that night and just shut up and answered their questions, we wouldn't be sitting here.
That I can vouch and say you're right on that. If I would have just cooperated, I wouldn't be here.
So why didn't you?
I apologize. Huh?
So why didn't? If you didn't, look, I've been in the criminal justice system for 50 years. I was a defense lawyer, a prosecutor, and a judge. So I know what the law is, and I know all about what cops do sometimes and what happens to people out there. But you're on parole. Okay? And I know laymen say, well, if you didn't do anything, why did you run? Well, I know people run even when they don't do anything. So I want to know why you did what you did that night when that officer approached you. So tell me that.
Scared, just always being a rash bomb. It was a situation ongoing situation with my lawyer Wainwright. Those officers also shot at me before for no reason, and I had a complaint on them. So it's like I'm scared of them. Wainwright is my lawyer at the time.
Whoa, complaint on who?
Those officers of the first district, the same officers. The lawyer that I had was Wainwright, Gary Wainwright.
I know Gary.
He got the recordings. You can call him right now. He had the recordings. He gave it to
So you knew Officer Bell?
I don't know him by face. I can't say which ones I won't lie and say, yeah, I know.
Okay.
But I know.
Know you by your nickname?
I never saw that officer before, sir. Never. I never could say that this is an officer that I had encountered with. I don't know who he is. My lawyer asked me that. I can't say that.
Okay. So now tell me what happened and why you did what you did. Why did you run?
Scared. I can't give you no other reason because I'd be lying. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I know
now, the police report suggests that you had a backpack at some point that was gone. It was thrown away when you made your runaway or whatever you did to get away.
So they got cameras all around them. Please find a way to get those cameras. And it was true. I never had a book sack. That could corroborate with my statements.
They also said they found a live 9mm round on you. Did you have a bullet in your pocket?
Not that I recall of. I saw the
bullet. Come on. Don't give me that don't recall business. Did you have one or didn't you?
I didn't have no gun, no bullet on me, no gun on me, no nothing, sir. I didn't have none of that on me, sir.
So they have a bullet in evidence, supposedly, and they say they found it on you. That's not true.
Sir, I didn't have a bullet on me, sir. I can't say that I have one. I can admit that's not a crime. I didn't have one. I can admit to that. That's not a crime, but.
So what happened? Tell me exactly what happened. Where were you when the officer saw you and you decided to either run or walk away or whatever you did? Tell me exactly what you did.
I was talking to a woman and an older guy that was out there. And We was talking, and the police they pulled up first, saw us out there. Then they pulled off and then came back on that corner, sir, and just was telling me to come here. And I was just trying to ask why. What was the reason why did I have to come to that car? He never gave me a direct statement like saying I done something, I'm a suspect, or something. So that's why I kind of like with the getting scared, like, what do you want with me? I also raised my shirt up, sir, to show him that I'm not doing anything. I have nothing on me. You know, he's not being truthful and telling y'all exactly what went on. If you can get those cameras that's out there, that will corroborate with everything. I tried everything that I could.
Well, I want to know what you did. What did you do after you pulled up your shirt to show him you didn't have anything?
I turned around, let him ask him, like, officer, what do you want with me? He like, come here. He was trying to use his authority to make me come. And I was like, officer, what did I do? Tell me, what did I do? He was like, come here. And I'm like, man, I don't know what this is about. So I walked off. I'm being honest. He jumped out
Did you walk off or did you run off?
I walked off. He jumped out.
Where did you go?
I went to walking up the street. That's when he got out the car and went to coming behind me. And I
Well,
looked
he says you got in an elevator. Did you ever get in any kind of an elevator?
Yes, after I ran up the street and
Okay,
ran.
well, tell me what all you did. You walked down the street and then what did you do?
He came, I ran through the behind the building, then I hopped the fence. I went up trying to get into the elevator. The officer then came up in there. The elevator was closing. He stuck his hand up in there trying to, like, you know, stop it from closing. That's when the officer, I see, he got his gun on me. And he was like, you know, telling me to freeze. And I'm still scared. And I just ran from out the elevator, you know what I'm saying, on him. And he came running behind me. And that's when I was hid and hiding someplace up in the building. And that's when I guess one of the people that was standing there, lived there, whatever, out there, happened to see me going to the hiding spot that I was at. That's when they told the officer where I was at. That's when the officers came right there and, you know, did whatever they did, you know, pulled me out there, threw me to the ground and everything. And that's when this bullet just come out. And he was like, get that. And I'm looking at it and I just shut up. I ain't say nothing. It was bumping to the police car. I couldn't breathe. I kept letting them know I couldn't breathe and this and that. That's when they called the EMS. The EMS came and that's when the officer took me back from out the car and he went to improperly searching me, putting his hands between my cheeks and stuff. And I yelled out to him, I'm like, no, get your hand from between my cheeks. And that's when they took me to the hospital.
What did you go to the hospital for?
I go there for not breathing, several things. They had the handcuffs so tight on me. It's all type of stuff. My wrist, they hurt in my wrist. I hit my head also when I was running my chin. I guess, I don't know how I hit the chin, I'm being honest. I can't say the police officer done that. I think maybe me hopping over what I would hop there and I fell face down on it, but kind of like blacked me out a little bit, you know. Then I was in the hospital letting them know what the officer done to me. I told him I wanted to talk to somebody.
Right. Well, tell me why you were having so much trouble. Why was your parole officer having so much trouble getting in touch with you?
My parole officer would come there early in the morning to my house, and I wasn't there in the morning because I was trying to get my business started. You know, I leave out early in the morning working, trying to find jobs, working and stuff, you know, with my company, trying to get that going. You know, that was the only reason why I wasn't there. I got 10 children altogether. 2 of them is my grandchildren. I support
Mr. Sims. On January the 24th of 2023, he tried to get in touch with you. Went to your place, no contact. January 25th of 2023, no contact. February 13th of 2023, no contact. February 14th of 23, no contact. February 17th of 23, you called him very angry, screaming and hollering at him. February 22nd, 23, no contact. February 24th of 23, phone contact. March 28th of 23, no contact. April 19th, 23, no contact. May 16th, 23, no contact. Finally, on June 1st, you were arrested. So, you know, why couldn't your parole officer get in touch with you? You know, here I got a guy.
What about the times I told him?
Let me finish. Here I got a guy whose parole officer is trying to get in touch with him, can't get in touch with him. And when he finally talks with him, you scream and holler at him. And then you get arrested. and then you smart off to the cops and you run. Now, what's wrong with that picture?
Sir, I can't recall all those times that he contacted me. I talked to him on the phone and everything, letting him know about my business and everything.
So why did you scream and holler at him when you talked to him on the phone? So you deny that he's here, so we're gonna hear from him.
He's right there. I don't see me hollering at him. You may have took that the wrong way, the way I talk. You may have thought I was hollering at him. I have a deep voice and I do talk a little loud at times, you know. I can be a little adamant about things like, no, you know, be talking up. Like as he talking, I might be like, no, that wasn't it. I'm doing, you know, I can't say it. That's a problem that I have to deal with, that I'm working on every day. I know I do not know how to communicate right. You know what I'm saying? So I can just say that I'm sorry and I regret it if he felt like that I was talking, yelling at him, but that wasn't my intentions. That's not something I do when I know that he holds.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. If you had to do this all over again, what might you do different with your parole officer? What might you have done differently with your parole officer?
Checking with him every day, every other week, would let him know exactly what's going on, updating him on my whereabouts, where I'm living, how I'm going, how my business is taking off or whatever. You know, I wouldn't keep things away from him, but
what might you have done differently the night the policeman saw you and asked you to come over to him? What might you have done differently that night?
I realized that I was wrong all the way around with that, because reason why I read into the law book and I noticed that an officer if they know that you're on parole, that they have the right to stop you. That's something I didn't know to ask. So now I'm informed on that. And I would have laid up there and went to that car and talked to him and see what was the problem, you know. But I'm being honest with you, it escaped me the hell to death, but that's something I know that I have to go out and face my fears and do. I'm sorry that I done that, because it ended me up in here, making me miss my kids, my kid being born. It's a whole lot I lost out on. It's a whole lot I'm losing out on. I'm sorry for everything I did that a person may reflect that I was doing any kind of wrong, when I know that my intention was on it to do right out there and provide for my family. I mean, that's my first time ever getting in trouble that day. And with the parole officers, just basically, he's saying that I wasn't there responding because I was so busy trying to.
Let me ask you this. Do you have some injuries on your left hand?
Yes, sir.
Show me what you got.
This finger right here been shot off and just replaced and reattached, and this one right here too.
Can you move those fingers at all?
I could do that. I can't do this. Can't make a fist. Can't ball them up. I can't write with them. Can't do nothing. And I'm moving these three fingers really.
Tell me about your family. You have children?
Yes, sir.
How many children do you have?
I have 10 altogether. 2 of them is my grandchildren that I call my kids.
Who are you living with while you've been out on parole for the last 11 months?
I've been with my mom's right there.
Okay. And where are your children and how old are your children?
One of them 19, one of them like 23. I have a stepson I also call mine too, that I raised since he was a kid, you know. He's like 24. I have my other kids who's with their mother, and I have a younger kid who with his mother, who's 11 years old. And I just had a kid that was born June 26th of this year. And I was
a grandchild born, you said?
No, my own kid.
That's your own child. And
yeah,
how old is he?
She's 6 weeks old.
Okay.
My grandchildren, they 1 year.
And where's the mother?
Huh, sir?
Who is the mother and where is she?
She's right there, Tranisha Glover. She's right here.
Were y'all living together?
No, sir.
Yeah. Question. Okay, now we're going to hear from your supporters. Let's hear from Ms. Glover.
I just want to say that doing everything, being a new mom again after 17 years, it's put a strain on me and me having to do everything on my own. I just wish that he was here to help me because it would be much more, like it would be less stressful. I'm going through postpartum stress, and it's just real. It's a big strain on me, and I wish he was here to help me. That's all.
While he was out, was he supporting you? Was he helping you in any way?
Yes.
Tell me how.
Every day I would get breakfast and lunch, dinner, and coming to my appointments with me. I had a few, since I'm 35, I had a geriatric pregnancy. So I had to go to the doctor numerous of times. I was like spot, and he was there. Like it was much more better. You know, when he was
Did he
here.
help support you financially?
Yes.
How did he do that? What did he do?
He paid my light bill, my light bill and my car insurance to help me out.
And what are your plans for the future? Assuming he gets back on.
I need him here with me because I have to get back to my life in order to make money for myself.
When you say you need him here with you, do you intend on living with him or what?
No, but I intend on him getting this baby so I can do some things for myself. You know, because it's just like it's just me, and it's a lot of pressure on me. It's a lot of pressure.
Thank you very much, Ms. Glover. Now let's hear from Ms. Sims, your mother.
Hi, how you
Good
doing?
morning, Ms. Sims. How are you?
I'm
Tell
okay.
us what you'd like us to know about your son.
He's my advocate. He's always there for me, making sure I'm taking my medication. He do errands for me to make sure I eat the right proper food. I'm asthmatic and I'm diabetic, and he makes sure that I'm okay, and he do the things around the house to keep the grass and the upkeep of the house up and stuff. And I'm not able at this time to do these things because the weather is hot outside, and I have the asthma situation, and he was the one seeing to going to the store to make sure I had food and water and stuff like that, and help towards helping me pay my bills and stuff when I need it.
Thank you, Ms. Sims. Appreciate your comments. Let's hear from, I assume, Ms. Barr.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Mia Barr, and I'm a client advocate in the Client Services Division at the Public Defender's Office. I'm speaking today on behalf of my client, Jenero Sims, whom I've worked closely with over the last month, and I've come to know as deeply thoughtful, intuitive, self-aware, driven, and family-oriented. I've collaborated with Mr. Sims to create a release plan that would allow for safe and secure reentry to the community, and I'm here to respectfully offer an alternative to revocation that will more appropriately address the situation at hand. Since Mr. Sims earned parole last year, he has made enormous strides to reintegrate into the community and change his circumstances. Rather than being a liability to society, Mr. Sims has become an asset to both his family and his community. He is a loving father, partner, and son, and has become a successful entrepreneur. On June 26th, just over a month ago, while he was incarcerated, Mr. Sims's partner gave birth to a baby girl, Princess Tatiana. Princess is now just over a month old and has yet to meet her father. Mr. Sims sees Princess's birth as an opportunity to be an active father and provider, and he is determined to create a different life for her than the life that he has had. Since being released, Mr. Sims has founded a successful power washing and car detailing business called Professional Detailing. Prior to starting his business, Mr. Sims had never taken out loans or been approved for a credit card. And Mr. Sims told me that second to his children and grandchildren being born, being approved for both was the best day of his life. His excitement about something that most of us find so mundane is testament to his genuine desire to contribute to society. After earning his high set while previously in DOC custody, he is now eager to pursue further education through Delgado Community College, where he hopes to study economics and business as a mechanism to further advance his business and allow it to grow and expand. Mr. Sims has already been accepted to Delgado, and his acceptance letter has been submitted as a supplement to the packet provided earlier. In addition to the concrete steps he has taken, Mr. Sims is looking to ensure he remains free from future incarceration by studying anti-recidivism theory, which he started doing while incarcerated. He is eager to prevent others' recidivism as much as his own and finds great power in understanding theories as to how he can most successfully remain permanently in community. I've referred Mr. Sims to the First 72 Plus for reentry support and services, and through them, he will also have access to the Fountain Fund, which is a nonprofit that provides low-interest loans to formerly incarcerated people. Mr. Sims is also highly motivated to work with mental health professionals and engage in talk therapy. And to that end, I've referred him to Jackson Hands of Change, which is an outpatient community-based counseling service that will meet Mr. Sims in the community as he begins to seek therapy. In summary, even in the face of his present circumstances, Mr. Sims has remained steadfast in his determination to return home to his children, partner, and business in order to continue building the life that he is so proud of, as he should be. In addition to his astounding natural community and familial supports, Mr. Sims will have my continued support upon release, and I will remain available to assist in service access and coordination, including compliance with any court and parole requirements. I'm confident that he will succeed in taking full advantage of a second chance by following the release plan in this letter. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barr. Ms. Kearney, I assume you will summarize after Mr. Sims has an opportunity to speak to us.
Yes, sir.
Now let's hear from Agent Bertrand.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I've dealt with Mr. Sims prior to this parole time. Mr. Sims has always had a lack of respect for police or authority. At least one other time when we encountered Mr. Sims prior to this parole that we arrested him on charges, it actually turned into physical assault by Mr. Sims, which also included attempting to flee in handcuffs when we arrested him at his residence with narcotics. But this period on parole from shortly after, and it's not just me that had phone conversations. He actually called and was aggressive and very rude to another supervisor and the front desk personnel that was answering the phone. Of all the times I went to the house, I've gotten everything from he left, shortly, he leaves about 7 o'clock. Because if someone, as a parole officer, someone tells me what their schedule is, then I know how to work my schedule. But if you tell me that you're leaving home at 7 o'clock, or your family's telling me you're leaving home at 7 o'clock, and I show up at your house at 6 in the morning and still nothing, and the only thing I get from the family is, well, he's here sometimes. Or always just left 5 minutes before I get there. I've been doing this quite a long time, and to me that says you're actually not staying there. So by trying to ask Mr. Sims, if you give me the address that you actually stay, then this makes it go a lot easier. But in order to keep saying you stay at the same address, and then every conversation I ever have with you, when you do return my phone calls, it is always very aggressive in calling and saying, why you talk to my mother, because we do question their family. We're trying to avoid situations like this, because if we can avoid it getting to this point, then we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. But if he has no willingness really to participate in being supervised on parole, then we can't help that.
Thank you very much, Agent. We appreciate your comments. Mr. Sims, is there anything you'd like to say before we turn it over to Ms. Kearney?
I would like to say that to Officer Bertrand that I never intended to be in the hostile way. I talk a little deep and still working on the way that I communicate. And if I have made like I was coming off wrong, that wasn't my intentions, and I'm really sorry. And I never lied to you about where I stay. I really do stay there, and the reason why is because I want to be there for my mom. My mom don't have nobody else. I'm their backbone, you know. And I help my mom. I don't just help my mom. So I help my sister, my niece, my nephew. I feel like I'm the head of that family. I feel like it's a lot that I need to do to support them. I feel like that I don't want to let them down. I feel like that I've been incarcerated all my life. And I feel like before anything happened to my mom, I want to show her that her son is doing right, has changed for the better, and accomplished a whole lot. I want to show her that I'm doing good. And the reason why I choose to stay there is because it helps me manage my money. I don't have to go pay, you know, a rent and nothing nowhere else when I could just help my moms. I really have a room up there. If you ever would have come to my room, you'd have saw how that room has been fixed up from when I ain't have nothing up in there. My clothes is up in there. And I know things may have probably been seemed inaccurate about the times that I was leaving, getting up and going to work and stuff. But all that's truthful. I know it may seem like it wasn't, but it's really truthful. And if I can just get the opportunity to get back about there into society, to prove myself, to show the better person I am and where I've learned from my mistakes, and I see where you may feel like that I was doing wrong, and I could acknowledge that. I can acknowledge that. And all I could do is say, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry from wasting your time, from giving you a hassle, from seeming like that I'm a problem or having a problem with authority when I know I'm really not. But I can't stop you from seeing it the way that you see it. So I could work on it and try my best to make you see me and like the way that I want you to see me as. So I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for having to sit in front of the board and waste your time for this. You know, so I'm apologizing for everything and just hoping that I can get a chance to keep accomplishing in life and not have to go back out there to society without nothing and have to start all over again. So all I can just say is I'm sorry for everything, all the misinterpretation things.
Ms. Kearney?
Yeah, so I just want to say that I really believe that Jenero is a different person than he was. But I think over the last few months, Jenero and I have talked a lot about his experience with law enforcement, and we've talked about what it means now to be given the opportunity to be on parole and to be under parole supervision. And I think Jenero fully understands what it means, what the opportunity is, and that it is a different circumstance than maybe the Jenero has experienced before, which is that his parole officer and parole in general is not trying to do anything to harm Jenero in any way, but rather is there to support him in this opportunity to turn his life around, which I really believe that he has. As you heard from Mia, for the first time in his life, and I'm sure you have seen his history, he has spent a lot of time inside of the DOC. And now, since he's been just in the last year, he has been able to start a successful business. He has, like Mia said, he was approved for credit cards for the first time, which for myself is pretty a mundane thing, but I think it shows that his excitement about that demonstrates how excited Jenero is to become a contributing member of society, and how motivated he is to do that. And I've spoken at length with his mother and with Trinisha and some other family and friends, and about not just his clear investment in his business and in supporting his family, but as Trinisha said, he went to all of her doctor appointments with Princess. He was very much looking forward to becoming her very active father in Princess's life, as he has with his other children. And I really, as he said to you, this was a situation where he felt threatened by police officers, but also I think some of his old experiences with authority came up in his head. And I think, you know, he has experienced some trauma in that, and he had a reaction. And he understands now, you know, what it means to be paroled and the need to control those reactions and to respond in a way that that is appropriate for specifically for his parole officer, given that his parole officer is there to support him. I'll also say that, as Mia said, he's very interested in therapy. Jenero is very self-aware in the way that he understands, you know, as he was speaking about his communication, that he is looking for support, and we are very excited to give him that support so that he can work through some of that. And so he has a chance. I'm sure you all are aware of, sometimes trauma reactions can happen without thinking. And I think his engagement in mental health will help him have those skills where he can, instead of having that reaction happen automatically, he will have a minute to process and to think and respond in the way that he wants to respond. Because, like I said, this is a different Jenero than he was in the past. And I think this is kind of the last piece for him in being able to address some of those experiences he's had in the past, so that moving forward, he can respond to his parole officer and law enforcement in a way that is is congruent with what he would like to present to society. So I would ask, what we are asking is that you consider a technical violation rather than a revocation in this circumstance. Jenero has taken responsibility, as you know, for refusing to identify himself to the police officers. I would also just note, in terms of that case, I think, as Jenero says, they are familiar, they know who Jenero is, and I think that they believed that he was doing something that he was not. They believed that he had a firearm on him. And I think Jenero knows, and as you spoke to, it might have been able to be cleared up much more quickly if Jenero had spoken to the police, but he felt scared and he ran away. And that's what got us into this situation. And in the future, as I said, with the support of our office, with the support of his family, this is not a situation that Jenero will be in again. And he fully understands what the opportunity of parole and the need to be in regular contact with his parole officer, who's really, who is there to help him in this process. So I would just ask the board to consider a technical violation and allow Jenero to return to the life that he is finally being able to build in just the last year, and know that he has not just the support of his family, but the full support of our office in getting all of the services he needs, specifically mental health services, to help him begin to process and to respond differently in the future.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments.
Can I say something one more time? Can I say one more thing, please? If you don't mind.
No, sir.
I recommend executive session to discuss confidential matters related to this case.
Second.
There's been a motion and second for executive session to discuss confidential matters. Please call the roll. Yes.
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 We're going to go into executive session to discuss confidential matters. We will be adjourned momentarily. We will return with a decision.
Sir.
He definitely does not know how to keep his mouth shut. He just has all of these people talk on his behalf, and when his attorney's done, he says, "Can I say one more thing?" Oh man, I mean, it's I feel like the line of questioning that Mr. Marabella was going at was he's trying to actually he's trying to help him. And he's trying to frame it in a way that it wouldn't also disrespect his parole officer and everything they stand for. And I like that I saw Mr. Marabella, taken to Canada, and he's like, I've been a judge for 50 or in the lawsuit for 50 years and been a judge, and I'm not going to deny that there's not corruption. And if you see any of these other channels like about it's like you have to be blind not to admit that there are issues. Also, something that he said, which is very clear, is he's like, hey, if there are cameras, please bring the cameras. Let me see cameras. Let me see footage. I didn't have a backpack. And it's like, that's a really good point. Where were the cameras? Where were that show it? Another thing that I don't, is, they're saying that there was a firearm found, that they found one bullet in his pocket. And I carry a CCW, and I cannot tell you a single time that I have ever carried one round in my pocket. It's just, why would I do that? I don't get that part. Maybe if I had a revolver, there'd be a reason to, but it's a little too sketch for me. That's what they said they found on him. So, it does seem that they really do want to parole him. They have all these people there for him. I was impressed with Mia Barr. I just thought that she was, she's not on her phone at all. Miss Wise was back on her phone. Like yesterday, she did a good job. She was off it for most of the time. But she was, and just very focused and like, it looked like compassionately invested into seeing him get out. It is interesting. Oh.
Okay, Mr. Sims. Mr. Sims,
Yes, sir.
This isn't an easy case. And the reason it's not an easy case is because of you and your attitude. I'm gonna be very honest with you. You've got a expiration date coming up fairly soon. If you had more time to serve, I probably would sit here and say, I'm gonna revoke you, send you back to prison and get you to do some more programs. But you're gonna get out pretty soon, regardless of what we do today. And I just want to tell you a few things. Number one, I don't doubt that maybe those cops didn't target you. I don't doubt there was a lot of extenuating circumstances about that arrest. I don't know whether you had a gun or you didn't have a gun. We won't know that answer. But you ended up in jail because you ran. And you got a serious attitude problem. And let me tell you something. Officer Bertrand, I was expecting him to get up here and tell me how bad you were and put your butt in jail. But he didn't. He was very straightforward and very honest about what he's been trying to do with you. If you can't get along with that man, you ain't going to be able to get along with anybody. And that's a real problem. Now, your lawyer and your advocate with the public defender's office have a plan. They've got something, hopefully, that will help you. You've been around a long time. You've been in jail a lot of times. You've been arrested a lot of times. You've been convicted a lot of times. You know the road. You know the road. This is no news to you. If you don't change, you're going to end up in prison and you'll never get out. Or you're going to get shot one night doing something. So you better change your lifestyle. You've been helping your mother. That's a good thing. You got a baby that you need to take care of. That's a good thing. So I'm going to give you a break. My vote, one vote. My vote is do not revoke with the following special conditions. Number one, that you follow religiously the plan that's been outlined by the public defender's office in New Orleans, which includes going to first 72 plus, doing those things. I want you to report to your parole officer weekly every week until you get off of parole. Now, that's a phone call, that's a text, that's whatever. But some communication to your parole officer, whoever that is, where you are and what you're doing. And one of the things that I want to make sure, and I'm not sure that it was in the package, but I want you to take a significant long-term anger management.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay? I'm just one vote, but you know, Mr. Sims, if you don't change your attitude and you this is going to happen to you time and time again. So good luck to you. Ms. Wise?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Sims, I've listened, I've gone back and forth. Yeah, I'm a retired probation parole officer. Yeah, I've dealt with knuckleheads like you, and you just want to be a knucklehead. And but you got to see how you're not winning. First of all, I don't understand why you out at night at 8 o'clock at night just hanging out, and you got 10 children. You know, you need to be inside. You know the road. You know how the officers drive through and all that. Don't put yourself in those situations. Find some other kind of place to be that time of the evening so you won't come in contact with that, because you already know. And then when it happens, you act like you're surprised, and that makes no sense.
I agree.
You got to change what you do for entertainment, what you're doing out at night. I mean, you don't need to be out there. You're too old for that. So, but I feel inclined because of the case that's presented today. You got some help. You can't say nobody never helped you, because you had a lot of help you today. If you take advantage of it, we will know. But I'm gonna take a chance on you. I'm gonna vote to do not revoke, and I concur with all the special conditions set forth by Mr. Marabella. And if you got a question about it, you need to call. If your officer is not in, ask me to the supervisor, speak kindly. You know, and if you have to leave a voicemail message, say that my name is so-and-so, I still live at so-and-so, and I'm just checking in. Nobody's answering the call, I'm just checking in. You got to do your due diligence. It's called being humble. It's something you have to hold your head down, because that's what that's called, being humble. Because you want to get off supervision and stay off. Best wishes to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
Okay, Mr. Sims, there's no use for me to reiterate everything they said. I think you're totally lying about you at your mother's house, telling them you were gonna be there at 7, leaving at 6. I don't think you were staying there. Point blank, end of story. I was a probation officer for 35 years. So I dealt with a few more than Ms. Wise. You have no respect for law enforcement. You have no respect for authority. And that's your whole problem. You think you know it all. My vote today is to revoke. I just wish you did have more time to do. You're a 7th felony offender. If you hadn't learned by now, these last 2 months in jail hadn't taught you nothing. So my vote's to revoke.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. You have 2 votes to continue you on parole with special conditions, and 1 vote to deny. So you'll be paroled. You'll be released with the following conditions, and that is you will follow religiously the outline that's set forth by the Public Defender's Office of New Orleans. You will attend a long-term anger management program, and you will report weekly in some fashion to your parole officer. That parole officer will dictate how you report to him or her, okay?
Yes, sir.
It's up to you, Mr. Sims. You can change your attitude, you can try to get along, or you can keep doing what you're doing, and you're likely to end up back in prison. So good luck to you.
That's something that's a place that I don't want to be the rest of my life. And I can acknowledge and admit that I have an anger problem, and that's been my downfall my whole life. It's crumbled me in so many ways and areas, and I'm trying to work on it frivolously. I don't want that to be a burden on me and keep on setting me back in life. I've acknowledged that.
Well, I hope you can do something about it. So good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank y'all.
His attorney was trying to shut him up. Mr. Freeman with his mic drop.
Thank
moment
you.
right there. Mr. Freeman, I mean, hundreds of hearings. I don't know. That might have been the second time I've heard him raise his voice, but the loudest I've heard him raise his voice. It was wow. You know, and he was the boss man of the of parole officers, and I do think he had to take the back of his, you know, former colleague or and to represent the parole officers and do that, and I'm glad that he did. And I agree with Mr. Mirabella. I was expecting the parole officer to kind of come up and flex a little bit, but he didn't. He just like stated kind of like the facts of the situation. And I don't know, to be a parole officer, you got to be, it's like, you got to probably have patience as a saint. And I don't know how they do it. They're not paid much at all. And it's just got to be the most frustrating, one of the more frustrating jobs and unappreciated jobs. But I do think Mr. Freeman hit it on the head. I mean, here is this guy's got what, 10 kids, 7 felonies. He's in and out, in and out. I don't think he was being honest about the home too. I don't think he was living there. That's straight up, you know, he wasn't. And about the police situation, there's probably a mix of truth there. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a mix. You know, you see the situation, he runs, they catch him. There is something interesting that Richard shared with me. This was a packet of that was part of the ACLU addressing the city of New Orleans about prison conditions. And what was interesting with this is that he actually has 2 pages in here with his writings. So this is his actual handwriting. See his DOC number, and it's basically complaining the jail is unclean, no cleaning supplies to clean toilets, stinks, tables are rusty, and they're not. They got us eating on the tables. We can't. He has much nicer handwriting than I do. I'll tell you that. My handwriting is, you would not be able to read my handwriting. There's get lead poisoning the tables. They don't respond to us when he has a problem. On the tier with an inmate, need more something in the building at all times. And we never get our mail on time. It takes 2 to 3 weeks to get mail. The family to send us. There are a lot of mold. Not enough cleaning supplies. If someone is throwing up or blood, it takes more than 2 hours to get their attention. This was written in 2013. I mean, it's a lot of different letters. I'll put this link in the description. It's kind of interesting. And I don't, you know, like, I really don't know what to tell, what to say. It's one might, you know, it's interesting. Like I said, he's getting at anyway. So they instead of just having him sit there, they want to give him things to do, and so it's productive and not just like punish him. But I do think, yeah, I think the temper problem was definitely evident. There are people, my family's come back, but let me see if I can get a few more words in. But we're going on a couple hours. We've seen 3 hearings. All, I think, just fascinating. And it's revocation hearings that you know, one thing I think we can give Louisiana a lot of credit for is they just invested 2 hours in 3 revocation hearings. I'm not sure a lot of other states would do that. And they try to find the truth. They're trying to find out what the right thing to do is. And again, I don't think this is what makes, you know, I do give Louisiana a lot of problems because there are a lot of issues that we see in the system, and with how certain things are handled and punishment discrepancies. You know, you harm a child and you get just a few years, and you can get 20 years for breaking and entering, and it's like breaking into a car, and the system's broken. But that's not the parole board's fault. I mean, and the idea that they did invest all this time into trying to get some sense of truth and not being completely partial to saying, well, it's the police and they're always right. And we saw his parole officer just state the facts. And, you know, really the system did everything in this case to help him. And he was not likable. He was not honest. He was, certain things he might have been honest about. But they are trying to help him, and really, if we see him back, it's just on him. It's on him, and he's just got to own up to it. But you know, I do think it's important that we all see this. We can see our justice system work, and we can see the wheels moving, and it's so important. And please do help the YouTube algorithm. And with that, I'll let you go.